think it's time that we have a conversation. Being in your 20s is not all it's cracked up to be. I remember being a teenager and thinking that when I'm 25, I'll have it all together. I'll have money, I'll have a job, I'll have a career, I'll have all of these things, I'll have a family. And now that I'm 25 and I'm still living with my family and I have 2 part-time nanny jobs and I do content on the side, I am not where I thought I was gonna be. And while I love creating content, and that's always been a dream of mine, my 20s is not what I expected it to be. And that's really hard to process. Last year was a turning point for me. At the beginning of the year, I broke out in really bad acne, and obviously there's a root cause to that, and I needed to figure it out. But I was also anticipating surgery at the end of April. And if you don't know about my surgery, there's a highlight above that explains all of that. But last year was really challenging. I was so stressed and anxious and afraid of what the future held. I didn't know. I was so scared, and I kept trying to give it to God. I kept going to him and saying, God, I trust you, but I'm scared. And while he took that and he held me and he comforted me in that time, I also kept taking it back. I said, you know what? No, I've got this. And the truth is I didn't have anything under control. Like, this was all something I needed to give to God and leave with him. And I kept taking over. I kept thinking I can handle it. And so while I went to God and got comfort for a moment, I then turned and did it all myself. A lot of what came up for me last year was this anxiety and this stress, so much stress that my body didn't know what to do with it. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with OCD and anxiety, and now as an adult, I'm processing what that looks like in my life. And honestly, it's scary because I thought that I had grown out of a lot of that, but that's not something that you just grow out of. So processing that with a therapist, processing that with God has been a journey. And while therapy has been helpful, ultimately I've come to realize that giving my anxiety, giving my obsessive compulsiveness to God, giving all of that to God daily, every single day, is the only real remedy. Talking to a therapist is great. I support that 100%, but I have to give it to God. That's the only way that this is going to ever get better, and I'm learning that. I'm learning that just this last week. And I learned it again and again and again. This is something that I seem to forget so easily and then have to remember again and again that giving it to God is really the only answer, the only way that this is going to get better. And I realized this year, actually, that bitterness is such a real thing that is in my life, because when I turned 25 and my life was not all put together, the things that I'd have in my life were not there, and I was frustrated. I am frustrated that my life doesn't look the way I thought it was going to be. And I have to give that to God, and I have to process that bitterness with the Lord and just try to get rid of it and combat it with gratitude. And it's a challenge for sure. But it's something that needs to be done, because if bitterness takes root in our lives, it can completely take over. And I never want to be in a place where bitterness takes over. When I was in Bible college, I heard a story of a woman who had cancer. I think it was stage 4 cancer. And she was given X amount of time to live. And she went to God with it. And the Lord told her to forgive all the people that she was angry with and to get rid of the bitterness in her life. And when she went and did that, when she forgave those people, when she let go of the bitterness in her life, she no longer had cancer. The cancer went away completely. And that story encourages me in a way that makes me want to run away from bitterness at all costs. Like, I do not want to be found with bitterness ever. If bitterness has the power to kill us, which it does, spiritually, physically, bitterness is evil. Bitterness is bad. If you have bitterness in you, get rid of it now. It will take over your life. So that's just a lesson that I've learned, and now trying to figure out how to get rid of bitterness. At first, I thought it was just about combating bitterness with gratitude and being grateful, but really it's addressing bitterness and finding out where the root cause of the bitterness is coming from, taking it to God and processing it with Him. He is so kind. He is so gracious to listen to you and to process it with you. He's not judging you. He's not against you. He is for you, and He wants to process it with you. He is the ultimate therapist. I just want to encourage you today, if you're in your 20s and you are not where you thought you would be, you're not alone. I've learned recently that when you're in your 20s are meant for figuring stuff out, not for having it all together. That time will come, maybe, but right now, in the season of life that you're in, if you are in your 20s, you're still figuring it out, and that's okay. The world has put this expectation on you that you're supposed to have it all together in your 20s, and I can tell you that is not the case for me, and that is not the case for anyone that I've met in their 20s. Nobody has it together, and we're all just trying to figure it out. And then if you're stressed or anxious about where you're at, go to God. Learn from my mistake of taking control of it myself, and just go to God now. Give your anxiety and your stress and your worries, give it to God, because He can take it. He has a plan and purpose for your life that is far greater than what you can come up with on your own. He has a plan for you that is different from everybody else. So stop comparing yourself to other people in their 20s. That's not for you. God has a different plan for your life, and you need to stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison is a thief of joy. We've all heard it. So don't get stuck in comparison and looking from your left and to your right. Just trust God has a plan for you, because He does. He has a plan and a purpose for you. Their story is not your story. God has a purpose for your life that's different. His plan for us is not like a cookie cutter, cut out to perfection, all of us looking the same, and thank God that it's not. He has a specific plan and purpose for your life, and just trust Him, because when you do, there's a burden that's lifted off of you. You can trust Him with your life. You can trust Him with your future. It's going to be so beautiful in the end, and you're going to look back one day and just see all that the Lord has done and just see the beauty in it. And this is my encouragement to you and also to myself, because I am living this right now. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope that is encouraging to somebody. Thanks for listening. Bye.